All right, everybody. How are you guys? Good. Doing great. Good. I see some new faces, which is nice. I love new faces. All right. Well, good morning. On behalf of the Orange Chamber of Commerce and Visitors Bureau, welcome to the June segment of the Eggs and Issues podcast, live from Orange Cafe Bistro. Welcome. I feel like I know most of you, but I'm Brenda in case we have not met before. And we have a special guest here. We have Sheriff Don Barnes.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So before we get started, I'd love to just read a little bit of your bio. I have a really short one, if you don't mind.
Please be short.
Very, very short. It'll be so brief. Sheriff Don Barnes was elected the 13th Sheriff-Coroner for Orange County in November 2018 and began his law enforcement career with the Orange County Sheriff's Department in 1989. Sheriff Barnes leads a department of approximately 4,000 employees. The men and women of the Sheriff's Department provide patrol services for approximately 800,000 residents, operate one of the nation's largest jail systems, manage the Orange County Crime Lab, and provide training services at the Orange County Sheriff's Regional Training Academy. The sheriff also serves as the county's mutual aid coordinator and is responsible for emergency management. During his tenure as sheriff, he has focused on initiatives aimed at fighting crime, enhancing school safety, implementing programs in the jail to reduce recidivism, and increasing efforts to stop trafficking of deadly narcotics. Sheriff Barnes serves as the Vice President for Homeland Security for the Major County Sheriffs of America. He also served as the President of California State Sheriff's Association from 2024 to 2025 and currently serves on the association's President's Council. In recognition of his leadership and service, the Major County Sheriffs of America named Sheriff Barnes its 2025 Sheriff of the Year. I'll stop there because congratulations and welcome.
What was especially memorable to me, I don't seek accolades, but when I received that recognition, it's actually titled the Sheriff Sandra Hutchins Sheriff of the Year Award. So it's named after my predecessor, and that made it very special to me. So I was very grateful. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. And I should say welcome back.
Yes, I know.
This is your third time kind of in the chair. One time was by Zoom. And then you were here in 2024.
Yes, and that's hard to believe. It's been 2 years. Time flies.
It does.
Yes, it feels like last week.
Really?
Yeah, it does. Yes, I'll be back next week.
Perfect. They've got great breakfast here, so that's perfect.
They do.
Well, how's everybody else feeling today? Everyone good? Okay, so what I didn't say, for those of you who have not been before, is, our guest, Sheriff Barnes, is here. Sheriff-Coroner Barnes is here for you. So if you have questions, I'll open it up for questions at some point after a couple questions here, but feel free to, by raise of hand. We do like to have a hard stop at 9 o'clock, so we'll try and wind down, get some announcements in before that, but with that, we can go ahead and get started.
Perfect.
So I'd love to start with just kind of a broad look at public safety. In Orange County today, what would you say is the overall state of the community?
In the county, I think we're doing great. I think we still have a very safe community. 10 of the safest cities in Orange County are patrolled by the Orange County Sheriff's Department, 6 in the state, if you rank them. I think overall we have a very safe community comparatively. If you took Orange County as a major urban area and aggregated all the cities into one comparatively with any other major urban area, it's the safest major urban area in the United States. Not even close. We have great policing. The 21 municipal chiefs of police and the 2 universities here, we have a great working relationship. So I have an opportunity to work with them regularly. We have great programs that we've implemented in the Sheriff's Department. And really, it's the cooperation and collaboration we have with our community that makes the difference. We can't do this alone. We have to have everybody working to be co-producers of their own safety. So some of our great outcomes we've had over the last several years have really made a profound difference. I know we'll talk about some of those a little bit later, about Prop 36 and fentanyl and all the other issues that we're facing with our jails, opportunities within our jails that we've taken advantage of to get people back in a good place and had tremendous outcomes across the board. So I'm proud. I have a great team. They make me very proud. They make my life easy. But I'm blessed to have such a great team. I think collectively they just own it and do a great job. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Well, I believe a lot of people may not realize, I know a lot of people shorten it to just Sheriff Barnes. I accidentally did. I'm sorry for that. Your title is actually Sheriff-Coroner.
Yes.
And if we could talk a smidge about that portion of it. So how do you feel the coroner portion ties in, and what should people know about that they may not know?
That's a great question. So there's 58 counties in California, and 48 of the 58 have a dual office where the sheriff also serves as the coroner. And that happened about 4 decades ago when they combined the office into one. It really was done, and hope you appreciate this, as a tax savings measure. We had duality in offices, but by combining the two, we saved probably between $3 and $4 million a year by combining the sheriff's office with the coroner's office. And when you think about the coroner's office and what they do, it's really just a homicide investigation, it's a death investigation. So we adopt or take on jurisdiction of about 10,000 cases are referred to us a year. Okay. They will do autopsies or investigations, about 7,000 of the 10,000 every year. And that means they go out and they will do a death investigation, just like our homicide investigators will. The only difference is there's not a suspect involved. They're just trying to find cause and manner of death with any individual that passes that they take jurisdiction in. What that means is if somebody passes, we get the call, they go out, they have to establish that they have the jurisdiction of the case. If not, they release them to a mortuary. Mortuaries cannot take a decedent until they are released by the coroner's office or by a doctor if they're under immediate doctor's care. Oh. They can sign that as well. So if you're in the hospital and they pass there and the doctor's caring for them and can say that they passed from this type of illness, then we don't get involved with those. But okay. If there's any question about the cause and manner of death, we will adopt that case and take it over. So I don't do autopsies. Just want to make that clear. We have a team of people that do all of those things, but it's actually very, very good. We get asked all the time. Well, the one question I get asked more than any, and this is probably something you don't know, is the conflict that exists, and it really gets people angry, the conflict that exists when there is a high-risk death or somebody passes in my care while in the jail. We had 2 in the last week, both from illnesses, not from anything else. But they think that I handle those. We don't. We actually wall those off. They're investigated completely outside of the organization by other entities. I still have to, I don't sign the death certificate, but the coroner still has to sign the death certificate. But those individuals investigated, they come back with their findings, toxicology, all the autopsy, everything else, and they will say the cause and manner of death is this, and then we issue the death certificate. But it's completely outside. Like an officer-involved shooting, we would not, if a deputy is involved in a shooting and kills somebody, we will not investigate that. That's somebody outside. There's actually a bill that was just signed into law in California last year that goes into effect on January 1st that requires everybody in the county and the state to have an outside independent investigator that comes in and does an investigation in a high-risk officer-involved shooting or somebody in their care in the jail. I think we're the only ones that are already compliant because we've been doing it that way for decades. Everybody else is trying to find a solution and somebody can do that and they can't find anybody. So they're going to go into January 1st out of compliance with the statute because the California legislator never asked the simple question, are there enough people to do this work if we take it away from the coroner's office? And there isn't. So
do you guys, if I could ask, do you look for people outside the county? So like LA might come here and you might go there, or is it? LA
has a medical examiner. So they, of the 10 counties that don't have the dual office, they have independent medical examiners. And by default, they qualify because it's not the sheriff's office doing those investigations. But of the 48, I think I'm the only one that's in compliance because we've always done it this way. But the problem is, if they do it for somebody, they can't do it for somebody else. They wrote really strange language in the law. So there's nobody available to do these cases. So I guess they're just going to stack up literally and wait until somebody can come and do the death investigations because they can't be in compliance with the law because they don't have that outside independent contractor to do it.
That's interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that portion.
Thank you. Yes.
Well, if we can, let's talk about Proposition 36. I know that it's been about a year since it took effect and we're beginning to see some of the results. It seems like there is a bit of traction with some of the things that have changed from Proposition 47 back now over a decade. But what can we see that's working or not working at this point?
Well, I think it's working well for us in some ways, and it's not working for the state and others.
Okay.
When you mentioned I took over as when I took over as the president of California State Sheriff's Association in 2024, that week, Prop 36 made the ballot. It had got the signatures. So I went on all ahead front on Prop 36 to try to get that through, and we did. 70% of the voters in every county it passed, and 70% across the count of the state wanted change. They had had enough. That's a very clear message. Apparently, Gavin Newsom did not get the message because he hasn't funded it. He refuses to fund it, even though the will of the voters. When you have 7 out of 10 people say we want this problem solved, and part of that is the care, the treatment part of it. And we had estimated it would take about $130 million minimally to deal with the treatment aspect of getting people into sobriety. It's targeted more towards the drug treatment component. He did switch some money over, but he took it from one pocket and put it in the other and called it Prop 36 money. He took it from AB 109, which is dedicated, committed funds, and moved it over to Prop 30. The other pocket said, we're going to call this money Prop 36 money now, but it doesn't change anything because those monies still are 100% obligated into other services. It didn't deal with the treatment part. There is some money coming out of this budget, but not for us. It's for the trial court, and then also for some county behavioral health components, but still not robust enough to make a difference. But in Orange County, when that went into effect December 18th of 24, we implemented it. Hard to say this in a positive way. We're number one. The most arrests for Prop 36 offenses in the state are in Orange County, and in Orange County, it's the Sheriff's Department. We took it very serious. Here's the interesting thing about that, though. There's 2 components that have changed. And from 24 to 25, we saw it is not only about drugs, it's also about theft, serial theft, and other thefts. We saw theft drop significantly in 2025 from 2024. Overall crime went down 13%. Thefts went down 21%. Burglaries went down 26%. Vehicle thefts went down 33%. So all this opportunistic crime that people were doing had a huge impact. Now, all the advocates that were advocating against Prop 36 were saying it's just a mass incarceration effort. Again, we're going back to the way it was before Prop 47. If you remember Prop 47, the Safe Schools and Neighborhoods Act, that was what it was on the ballot title in 2014. It decriminalized theft and drug crimes from felonies to misdemeanors and caused a lot of the societal problems we were facing in the interim. So if you look at that impact and this declaration that it's a mass incarceration program, we have the most arrests in the state. Our population in the jail was gliding up from COVID because we had a very depressed population during COVID, about 3,400. When Prop 36 passes, about 3,800 or so. We kept going up at the same rate. It didn't have an impact. We didn't have this big spike. It just kept gliding up. And we went to about 4,100. My population capacity is 7,600 in the jail. So I've got beds. I'm like Tom Bodette. We'll leave the light on for you. We have capacity. And it's important because that's not true in LA County, Riverside, San Bernardino. They are full. In fact, in LA County right now, if you commit a violent crime with a gun, the average time in custody is 2 days. So they don't have room, and they may have more jails closing because of decrees that are brought forth by consent decrees. So totally different environment. We went up to about 4,100. Last week, our population about 120 days ago started to glide back down, and we have no explanation for it other than we think people have got the word, don't commit crime in Orange County. They have room for you. You're not going to get out if you come here. And what I hope is most important about that is that if they do come to our jail, they're taking advantage of the great programs and services that we have within our jails to get them into sobriety or mental health stability and kind of break that trend. And we think we're doing a great job there as well. 2 years ago, the National Institute of Corrections, which is a subsidiary of the U.S. Department of Justice, awarded our organization, the Sheriff's Department, Center of Innovation for the programs that we have within our jails to get people into sobriety or into mental health stability or into employment or housing, whatever it might be. They've done a great job. By the way, 3,088 sheriffs nationally, only one other sheriff has ever received that recognition. And that's not me. That's the team that I have that does such a great job. They do a phenomenal job.
Thank you.
So we're seeing the population go down, and that's a good thing. Let me tell you one of the things I'm really proud of when you talk about anti-recidivism programs. We have many programs in our jail, and we've learned the gateway to employment for a lot of our people who are in our jail, those entrusted to our care. When we train them, because to work in the food service, as you know, you have to have a food serve certification. Mm-hmm. We give that certification for all the people that work in our cafeterias and preparing the food. We also accompany that with a document that says, this is the expectations to be successful with this program that comes from me or the Sheriff's Department. Mm-hmm. It's not just a certificate. It says, this is the criteria you have, expectations of participation or employment while they're with us. We found that that is probably the most significant gateway for people to leave our care and go out and get attached to employment. Of those who participate in that program, the recidivism rate, by the way, in the States, about 45% within 1 year, people come back to me. The recidivism rate for that group is 8%. That's a huge gateway into employment. And now with the minimum wages that are coming out, it's probably more likely to be employment that has a wage they can hopefully live on if you aggregate wages. But it's been a gateway for people to come out, get out, and not come back. And we have other programs that are just as successful that I'm very proud of.
That's exciting. Yeah. You mentioned funding gaps for Prop 36.
Yes.
So I guess what would you like to see in the next budget cycle that would help that?
Well, fortunately, the next budget cycle will be a different governor. So I think that whoever that is going to have to look at the problem set differently. And you can either keep feeding the system. There now, this is the hard part. We have this anti-incarceration, decarceration efforts that have happened the last 7 years under Gavin Newsom without any really structured plan on how that was going to be successful. Just let them out, but they come right back. Okay. I think if we focus on that, the funding portion of Prop 36 to provide the programs to get them into sobriety is going to be the biggest likelihood for success with this population. We created our own worst environment. It was a worst storm that we had between Prop 47 and fentanyl came in and all this addiction issues. And if you caught somebody before Prop 47, they went to jail, and you had an opportunity between the original Prop 36, which is focused on drug intervention programs, PC 1000, drug court, all these off-ramping opportunities to get people into sobriety, coerce them really into participation. All that went away when Prop 47 passed. So if you committed a crime, a drug crime, before that, went to jail, and then you got a ticket with Prop 47, and it's perpetuated this homelessness issue and all these other things that have been societal impacts. The funding is an important part. Given today, my population being around 3,800, about 1,000 of the people entrusted to our care, 1,100 goes back and forth, are participating in medication-assisted treatment. That's for opioid use disorder. It's the largest drug treatment program in the county by default. But people are coming in and they're entering that program. The problem that I have is once they finish the program and they get released, there's no warm handoff into a sustained success program to keep them into sobriety because it's not there because Prop 36 hasn't funded it. So we do a great job. In fact, I told the governor's office one time, don't criticize the sheriffs. We're doing more to help people get back on their feet into sobriety or mental health treatment than anybody else in government. But we can't have this revolving door, just keep bringing them back. We're failing on several fronts. So there's a good opportunity here, but we have to invest. It's not a cost, it's an investment into people. And we all win if they don't come back to jail. We all win if they stop using narcotics. Mm-hmm. We all win if they get mentally health stable and can be contributing people in society. And I think we should be investing much earlier before they even decline into law enforcement contact. If we can get them upstream before they even decline into the criminal justice system, that's where we really should be treating these people and getting them back in place. It's more cost effective. The return on investment's much better to get them early on into sobriety or stability before they decline and become very serious offenders or draw a lot of our tax dollars out of the system. Or there's impacts in crime. There's a cost of crime that happens in society on a regular basis. So we're trying to stay ahead of all of those things and solve these problems. There are people that need to be in my jail, and there are a lot of people that don't. Okay. I'm focused on the ones that we can do better with and in community to help them before they decline into incarceration.
Okay, and along those lines, I'd love to move into mental health a little bit. So I know sometimes it doesn't receive enough attention, but when someone is charged with a serious crime and they're not competent enough to stand trial, it seems that there is a shortage of places for them to go.
There absolutely is.
So if we could talk about what that looks like and how
Sure.
we can fix that.
It's actually I hate to say it this way, I think it's a money generator for the state.
Okay.
Because when you're determined, you have to go and have a competency evaluation, competence to stand trial. And that happens in the state hospitals. Well, there's not enough state hospital beds. And there's some formula that determines how many beds are allocated to each county. And Orange County has, for example, 60 beds. I don't know what the number is. It's 60 beds or 70 beds. Okay. And we are over that. So if we go over that, we get penalized to the tune of millions of dollars by going over a lot of number of beds that the state determines how many beds are available. So the state is deficient in how many beds there are. They don't have enough, but the formula penalizes us because the state hasn't provided enough beds, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So it's this weird algorithm they have that it's a money generator. So they penalize us to the tune of millions, but they will go and have a competency hearing, a competency evaluation, determine if they're competent to stand trial. And that number is growing exponentially over time. And if they determine not, or they get housed some way, they will put them in community instead of the jail. And the laws change that says you have to do that, which means these people who have sometimes committed violent crimes, who are mentally incompetent, they're trying to get their competency back, but they will put them in community in these houses. That's the big issue people are facing right now, is where do you put these people that are sometimes violent, unstable, but they can't be held accountable for their crime, sometimes very serious crimes, sometimes very violent crimes, but by law, I can't hold them in the jail. And I can't hold them there because I can only have people in my jail who are being charged with a criminal violation of law, not a competency holding or a civil holding. So everybody says, well, just take them back and create a wing in the jail. That's not an option for me because I can't hold them there if I don't have the legal ability to hold them, and that means they have to have a criminal violation of law. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
It does. Do you find that it's more of a cycle where if that person doesn't have anywhere to go, they kind of keep coming back, or? Well,
sometimes they go out and they commit some new offense, but that's not fair to the community when they should be held somewhere to keep them safe. The problem is we don't have state hospitals. That has been an issue for a long time. And I have this ongoing debate with people about what that looks like. We all have seen people in Orange County, they're SPMI, severely persistently mentally ill. These are the people talking to mailboxes or wandering the streets. And I would argue it's probably better for that individual to get care in a locked facility and get them back into some stability rather than let them roam the streets like they have been doing. That is not fair to them or the communities in which they happen into. So, and some of this is NIMBYism. I've told people, not in my backyard, but you're okay with it in your front yard. Because you have two choices here. You can either deal with it and have some place for them to go, or they're going to be wandering the streets in the neighborhoods and causing different societal issues and impacts. And we've seen that. I think that was one of the causal factors of the success of Prop 36, the 70%. People were looking for ways to deal with these populations. So Prop 36 does have a homeless component to it. Okay. I'll tell you one interesting story. When Prop 36 went into, I'm not going back to the beginning. I'm just telling you a story. When Prop 36 passed, we had one individual that was arrested, went to his arraignment, said, "Judge, I'm back. Let me out tomorrow like you always do." 108 convictions over a 10-year period for violations of law. And the judge said, "Nope, the rules have changed, 9 months in jail." And I'm not advocating for incarcerating the mentally ill or the drug addicted, but for the first time, we have an opportunity to get this person into programs and stability and sobriety and mental health programs or what it might be. And I don't know the outcome of that individual. It was one of the first we arrested in 2025. But my hope is he was able to get stable and then realize how he maintained that stability and get out and be more a contributing member of society rather than taking from and giving back to.
Right.
And that's the opportunity we have.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, moving into Homeland Security,
there's nothing going on.
Really? Nothing thing going on?
Maybe a little.
Well, there's national attention on border security for sure for border crossings. From Orange County's perspective, what are the biggest homeland security threats today, and why is it important that we continue investing in local preparedness?
That's a great question. I'll tell you, obviously, there's been a change in the administration. I was just on a conference call yesterday about border crossings, and the numbers are significantly down. They're still down. They're in the tens of thousands, like between 10, 11,000 a week compared to hundreds of thousands several years ago. Those numbers are really down, and they're able to catch them now trying to cross the border where we don't have the gotaways because they have resources there. Previously, what people don't realize, the cartels, nobody makes it to the southern border without the cartels profiting to the tune of between $12,000 and $20,000 per person. So you don't get there. It doesn't matter who you are. And that whole humanitarian crisis that the Biden administration was talking, they created that, by the way. When you have porous borders, they created this surge of people, and that was by design by the cartels. They would surge certain parts of the border with families, and half of CBP would have to go babysit and vet these people, and it opened up these huge holes along the southern border that they would drive fentanyl through, and it was all a strategy of the cartels. But every one of those people would profit off of the crisis that we created. A lot of people lost their lives. Those lives lost trying to get to the border, that's our problem. We created that by having this porous border. I was more concerned back then, which I'm still concerned now, about homeland security issues in the continental United States, not just Orange County. But in a 2-year period, there were 1.4 million people that were called gotaways. A gotaway is somebody they see at the border, crossing the border in some way. They know there's a person. They were unable to contact an individual, and they successfully made it into the United States. So the question that I asked to then Secretary Mayorkas, who was the DHS secretary prior, if you could walk up to any federal agent at the border and say, I'm claiming amnesty, I want in, and the last administration will let you in, give you a cell phone, fly you wherever you wanted to go. By the way, without a real ID, they just put you on a plane, fly you anywhere you want to go, house you, feed you, give you all these resources. If you won that game show ticket, that prize, what does it say about the 1.4 million people that negated that opportunity, that circumvented it, that made their way into the United States in some way? They're probably not friendly to us. Not all of them probably aren't, but there's a lot of people that probably successfully made it into our country that aren't friendly. During the same 12-month period, one of those 12-month periods, 157 people contacted the border, not the gotaways, those contacted were on the FBI's terrorism watch list. So people that were known to not be friendly to us were caught before they made it in. And undoubtedly, some of those people in that group have nefarious intent. So now we fast forward to where we are today. We have these people here. We're trying to find them. Probably do not know who they are. We have new threats. If you follow FIFA World Cup, for example, I testified in Congress twice last year on special events planning, particularly around the need for counter UAS or drone intervention mitigation technology. We finally have it passed, but we're not nearly robust enough as a nation to deal with the drone threat that we are facing. So far to date, FIFA World Cup, over 500 drone interdictions at FIFA World Cup events. Somebody flying a drone that's not supposed to be in the airspace, they will somehow capture or find the operator and take that drone back. They'll arrest people for doing that because they're not allowed to do these big events.
How hard is it to find that person who has a drone? I guess
it's very difficult.
Okay.
The challenge we face, everybody talked about DJI drones, how dangerous DJI drones, and there was a risk associated with DJI drones, but that's the low-hanging fruit. They put out a signature. You can pick up that signature, take control of that DJI drone, unless they put a patch or change the software configuration, and you can take control of that with the right technology, safely take it, land it, and have control. Those aren't the dangerous drones. It's the dark drones that are made in basements. It's the tethered drones that are on fiber optics. It's the autonomous drones that have a coordinates to fly to and do some act like detonate an IED or drop a biologic over a crowd that can have severe consequences. Those are the ones. I was just at a intelligence conference in New York about 2 months ago. And on the topic of drones was one of the topics. There was a photograph they showed in Ukraine, and it looked like this community that they had pulled a huge piece of cellophane and just laid it over the top of this community. all that was the fiber optic cables that have gone downrange and just over a period of time draped this community with fiber optic cables. They can go up to 6 kilometers into an area. And if you don't know this, in the war in Ukraine, 4 out of 5 of the casualties are close proximity drone strikes. Not the drones that Iran was flying into Israel. These are drones that have an operator that finds a soldier, chases that soldier with a drone until they get close enough and they detonate a payload, explosive payload, and kill that soldier. So think about this. It's not the rifles, it's not the air attacks with missiles, it's these close proximity drone strikes. I think it is probably the greatest risk we have to the sovereignty of the United States is our inability to get ahead of the drone risk and threat, to build out a network of mitigation strategies and how we're going to deal with these drones at any large event or even smaller events. You could do it at a mall, you could do it at a high school football game. All these things have these risks that are going to be very relevant very soon. And we're trying to stay ahead of that. So there are some things that we have coming in. We're putting in for grant opportunities to build out our drone mitigation program and drone as a first responder program.
Okay.
But we need the money. And unfortunately, this administration, if you don't participate actively in immigration enforcement, it's one of the conditions for grant applicants.
Okay.
California can't because of SB 54.
Okay.
So I have this opportunity to apply for these grant funds, over $1 billion of available funding. But if I can't check the box that says I actively enforce immigration, I am precluded from receiving those monies.
Okay.
We're trying to find a workaround through some of our congressional delegation to see if we can get a waiver. I participate the most that I can within SB 54, but I can't break the law to enforce the law. And unfortunately, the law in California says I cannot. I did tell the previous Attorney General Bondi twice that if she sued California on SB 54, I would support that lawsuit.
Okay.
Because I think it does harms by creating this environment where I have to release criminals who aren't U.S. citizens back into the community when they should go, like every other country on earth, go back to the country of their citizenship. By the way, Mexico is the most aggressive in that. If you're from Guatemala and you get in the country and you violate the law, they send you back to Guatemala. You don't get to stay in Mexico. Every country does it the same way except for us. In California, I should say. Horrible environment. I don't know if I answered all your questions on Homeland Security. I kind of
You did.
digressed.
That's okay.
It's not just that. It's cyber is another big issue.
There's so many questions off of the answer.
Yeah, it's cyber. It's homegrown violent extremists. We still have foreign terrorist organizations. We have the drug trafficking organizations, the cartels, and they're all operating in concert with one another. They're not siloed off like they used to be.
Right.
They are very coordinated on how they are operating to try to take advantage of us in our homeland. So we're less safe today than we were before 9/11, 25 years ago. The threat horizon has gotten much broader and more diverse, and it's causing some big challenges for us.
You mentioned drone as a first responder. Is that something that the Sheriff's Department is currently doing? I know some police departments throughout the county have started programs, but is that a program you all have?
Yeah, the police departments have an advantage that I don't. My footprint in the county geographically is much more diverse.
Okay.
You have a city has boundaries, and for example, Fountain Valley has their little square, and Anaheim has a good swath that goes across. But you have areas you're responsible for. For me to implement a drone as a first responder program would take a lot more resources, physical resources. We're trying to find a way to do that. We did do a pilot program in Dana Point about a year ago, had tremendous outcomes on how we were able to use that. So we're using that as a template. Unfortunately for me, if I don't get this grant funding that we're writing, I probably won't be able to implement it anytime soon because of the costs. I have a $15 million deficit this year. My budget is just short of $1.3 billion. Okay. And $15 million doesn't sound a lot in that context, but I have to find a way to bridge that gap. That's not as easy as people think when we're 85% people. Right. And I'm doing really well on attracting good people and retaining good people, but there's no discretionary monies to go and start new programs with that. So I'm hoping that we get entertained for that grant opportunity. And if we do, then we can implement our DFR program. And if people don't know what that is, it's where you have strategically placed drones. And if a call comes out, they will fly a drone there. They can get there a lot faster than a patrol car can. they'll fly a drone there. They'll do overwatch, report what's happening there, and then they become basically a coordinated effort for communication with ground units of what's happening at that scene. We still have drones, though, that aren't first responders. We have about 60 drones that we deploy. Sergeants have them in their cars. If we have tactical teams that go out, they will put a drone out and report intelligence back on what's happening in a place. Our bomb squad uses drones to go up and look at devices. So we've been in that arena for a long time, but the DFR program is a little different, more coordinated.
I was going to say, we have a big weekend coming up this week, and I feel like they might
Something
be out this
happening
weekend.
this weekend?
Something might be happening this weekend.
Yeah. But we do have one other advantage that happened recently, which is our real-time operations center.
Okay.
That we opened about 2 years ago. And this is it's a team of people that are using technology for the benefit of us. They have all the cameras, community cameras, the flock cameras. They have feeds into those. We are now implementing them in almost all of our high schools. Okay. So something happens at a high school or a commercial center, we have preemptive ability to go in and take control of those cameras to get real-time intelligence of what's happening. So if we're looking for a vehicle that just robbed a bank, for example, we can go and activate those cameras, use license plate readers, follow that car, and catch them, and we're really good at doing that. When I did the job a few days ago, maybe a few decades ago, I would probably be driving by the person as they're fleeing a scene and not know until we got there and interviewed somebody and said, this is the car, this is the license plate. Now we have the ability to track those. One of my favorite stories when we implemented this program happened down in San Clemente. We had a lady that was unfortunately carjacked, had her car violently taken from her in San Clemente. The Real-Time Operations Center located the car, tracked the car. It was coming up to Dana Point with coordinated units, pulled the car over, stopped the car, had the suspect in custody before we made it to the victim. We got him in custody before we even got to her. So when we got to her, it was, yes, ma'am. She was very traumatized by the experience. And we were able to say, we have the individual in custody, we have your car back, and that's happened time and time again. In fact, in the cases that the Real-Time Operations Center incidents that they get involved in, about a 50% chance that we have an individual identified or individuals before the call is even done. So we have a really good way of tracking people.
I know that started probably just about your last visit a couple years ago.
I think we started it right about then. I have a great project I want to share with you at the end. I'm really happy about it. But it's a game changer for us, and it's been able to do that. And we have, for example, the UCI protests. They were up assisting with that, using drones and other things to give real-time feeds of what was happening on the ground, and that ended well for us.
Very nice. Yeah. Well, I feel like we've been chatting. Does anyone have any questions? Questions? Yes, sir. Lots of questions.
Infrastructure has been a hot topic up in LA County, especially with the jail system up there. I know in Orange County, obviously, bigger changes have been made for the facility in Irvine, for example. But obviously, we do have some infrastructure that are getting older in age. We predict for the future in terms of what changes will be made to the current jail system in Orange County, whether updates or infrastructure. Maybe.
Well, I think that comparatively to LA to us, it's not even fair to them. I was on a panel with Robert Luna about a year ago, and I really had to tailor my answers to not make it look like he was being deficient in the ways leading LA. They just have it's a different operating environment, night and day to Orange County. So first, we have great support here. The one thing we don't have is revenue. We get 5 cents of every property tax dollar comes back to Orange County. It's the lowest in the state, which means we have to be much better at how we invest those dollars. We have just opened the James Music facility. It's new buildings on an existing facility in Irvine. It's a reentry facility. I'm very proud of that. 384 beds are focused on reentry programming. So somebody's leaving our care, they'll go to that facility, and we saturate them with all these opportunities to get in a better place before they leave. I'm really disappointed the B-Ball campuses are closed right now, are not really open. There was one open in Irvine that's not being supported by the county, but that would have been a great nexus post-custody to go down and have access to the same programming and services and other things that help them stay out of custody. The oldest jail I have is the Men's Central Jail, built in 1968, Men's and Women's Central Jail. It's an old linear jail it's rife with problems. You know, when doors don't lock in a jail, that's not a good day. And and the technology that they used back then, nobody builds this stuff anymore. So we literally have to go. We have guys who will go on eBay looking for switches and other things to buy so we can keep our jail locked, which sounds funny, but it's not funny to me. We have 5 jails total, but I think in the Intake Release Center, which is built in 1988, it's been completely refurbished to be a really mental health facility. It's the largest mental health facility in the county because of the makeup of who we have in our care. We have 1 out of 2 people in my care every day as a daily nexus of some form of mental health treatment. And it's not going down. It's not diminishing. It keeps going up. So if you look at that, we have different standards we have to care for them. So we had to refurbish the entire jail, which is really designed just for incarceration, holding people, into a mental health treatment facility so we can stay ahead of the curve and not get sued, because there are people that love to travel the state and sue sheriffs. But we've done pretty well. I think for the infrastructure, it's probably the biggest challenge we have is maintaining our jails. I do have a facility that I need South County in the southeast area. We have our Saddleback station, but that's a leased facility. It's owned by a medical company. They want us out, so our lease will probably terminate in about 7 or 8 years, and we have to find a new home. So we're looking at alternatives and probably have to build something at some point to have a permanent station for them to deploy out of. Leasing buildings is not really a long-term strategy.
Okay. Really quick, Pat, sorry. I'm going to go this way. We'll go with Rachel first, and I'll go right across.
Sure. I wanted to turn to e-bikes. At Rady Children's Health, Orange County, formerly known as CHOP, we've seen close to a 500% increase in e-bike injuries. Kids and teens are riding these near motorcycles, finding ways to make them go faster. Mm-hmm. We are really starting to focus on injury prevention and how an education, helmets, all these things tailored to essentially a motorcycle. So I just wanted to ask what you might be seeing in your department.
Yeah, that's a great question. The question about e-bikes and what we're seeing. We've been having this issue for a long time. The e-bike lobby in Sacramento must be very strong because we've strived to have some laws changed or redefined specific to e-bikes, and we have been unsuccessful in doing that.
Okay.
That's been a big challenge. I talked to Ray. Ray, of course, does my government affairs and legislation. Everybody knows Ray. Everybody loves Raymond, just like the show.
He's great.
We're going to see if we can sponsor a bill to be carried next year to require the manufacturers and sellers of these drones to label them with what they are and the requirements of them. In other words, this cycle is prohibited from being ridden by anybody under the age of 16 without a driver's license. So when parents buy them, there's a very clear warning that says, you give this to your kid, you're violating the law, and have some statute that goes along with that. That would be one. Rachel, you mentioned, you nailed it. I don't know what, there isn't a parent in the room that hand their kids the keys to their car at 13 and say, hey, go drive the car, right? You don't know the rules of the road, you don't know how to operate it, and they're doing this all the time with these cycles that don't qualify, or they're prohibited from driving. We're seeing huge consequences between accidents and injuries, liability. The irony in this is when these kids get in accidents, they're oftentimes the at-fault party, and you have to go to their parents, and the parents will say, well, who's going to fix my kid's cycle? Well, the other question is, does your kid have insurance? Because you're at fault for this injury, for this damage to this other car. Hope you have a big checkbook. It's probably going to be a couple $1,000s to fix this other person's car. But it's just, we have to get on top of it and stop it. It is out of control. Todd Spitzer, the DA, has started a task force on this, and he's going to start prosecuting parents for giving their kids these cycles that they're not qualified or able to ride. And I think that message is going to get out. There's been a couple of cases we've had. That case that he filed was actually our case that we investigated. And these are electronic motorcycles. I see them all the time as kids. They're posing traffic. They ride like an outlaw motorcycle gang in herds, and they just take over streets. And it's old adage. It's all fun until somebody gets hurt. Well, the person's going to get hurt is probably going to be your child. And anybody that gives their child an electric vehicle that they can drive without any understanding of the rules of the road is got the IQ of a small salad bar. I can't say it any other way. They're just not smart. There's a lot of peer pressure. You know, Johnny has one. I did one too. Sometimes you have to literally be the adult in the family and say, no, I'm not going to give you that. And you don't get it.
I'd say also you can't ride in the back of somebody else's. I think that's a big thing too.
There's so many violations.
In tandem and triplets.
I love the fact you talk to parents, and the one line to hear repeatedly is, well, my child will never do that. I watch them when they ride away, and they're so good. Yeah, we'll watch them around the corner when they're doing wheelies down the street. that's the adolescent developing brain. They don't have the cognitive ability to not do these things.
Right.
They're going to do it, and then there's consequences at some point. Even if your friend gets injured on one of these bikes, it was like, well, that'll never happen to me until it happens to you. There's an old adage in motorcycle riders. There are those who have crashed and those who haven't crashed yet.
Yes.
The same thing holds true with e-bikes. These kids we're going to have a lot of hurt kids before we do something about it.
I have a question for you. So we're at about 9 o'clock. Do you have time for 2 more questions?
I do.
saw Sean
Yes.
and Pat. So Sean, real quick.
Yeah, good morning, Sheriff. Appreciate your time. In conjunction with other law agencies, what are you doing to kind of like curb human trafficking, aka massage parlors in Orange County?
Well, that's a great question, and I'll tell you that when I was, it's not loaded, but probably not going to like the answer. There's two parts of that. The massage parlors. I was one of the positions I held decades ago was the lieutenant. They referred to as the chief of police service, lieutenant that ran Lake Forest. And in that period, I was the no-fun lieutenant. I shut down anything that had to do. I shut down Captain Cream's, the strip place. I shut down another strip place. I shut down all the massage establishments that weren't operating. And I shut down all the medicinal marijuana places that weren't allowed to operate. And I cleaned the city up. And the laws changed. As soon as I got rid of all the massage places, they changed the laws, allowed them to open right back up under different terms because they could. So that's one issue. There's a lot of servitude that happens in those where they hold people and keep them working there as they work off debts. That's true with cartels, by the way. We see these guys walking through parking lots with strawberries or the little food carts that prop up. There's a reason why all those food carts look the same for the cartels. They go to the same place, they get them from the cartels, and they go out and have to make money to pay back the debt that they paid to get to the United States. Different topic. Same thing holds true in the massage parlors. As far as human trafficking, we have a human trafficking task force. We just had a great operation with child sexual abuse material or child trafficking. CSAM is a big issue with child pornography. We made 19 arrests in a 1-week period on that. 2 years ago, when we had the Super Bowl here, we had Operation Red Zone. We made about 80 arrests over the period of the Super Bowl. Many of them were underage girls, so we got out of that environment. So we're all in on it, but it's growing exponentially because of the way the dark web works and the way they get exploited and held basically through just extortion. Give me a photo. By the way, when that person's asking you for that photo from the 15-year-old girl, it's not another 15-year-old boy. It's a 55-year-old man posing as a 15-year-old boy, and they get that, and then when they get it, it's like, great, give me more, or I'm going to expose you, or do things. Now there's a new term. If you haven't heard it, it's coming. It's an uprising term called nihilistic violence. Has anybody heard of that? It's groups like 764. It's mostly adolescents targeting other adolescents, sometimes at the behest of adults, to get them to do things to themselves, sometimes sex acts, sometimes child sexual abuse material through photography, sometimes self-mutilation, sometimes animal torture, sometimes violent acts like go shoot a school. And it's all about the status of these groups. Who can outperform or get people to do things beyond anybody else? They have this rating status they rate. It's like a game to them. And it is an evolving risk. NCMEC, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, has a triple-digit year after year reporting of nihilistic violence acts. So it's now the new emergent threat. I was at a press conference, and there's one message I go get out, and hopefully people watch this, hopefully adults watch this. I made a comment where I said, there isn't a parent on the planet that would walk their child into a room with pedophiles and sexual predators and say, have a nice day, and close the door. They do that every day when they let the kid into the bedroom, access to the internet. They are accessing through gaming platforms, through internet, through all these other electronic means, and walking into these rooms with these pedophiles and sexual predators. They just don't know it. We have to educate our kids and protect them, and that means having very uncomfortable conversations with them about the reality that they're operating in. I use the term, have a seat, make yourself uncomfortable. Right? It is literally talking through these things about how the world works.
Right.
Because I came from a different world. You know, my issues were if I had a problem, Assistant Sheriff Jeff Puckett's here in the back. He runs our patrol operations. If I had a problem with Jeff, I'd say, hey, meet me behind handball court. We'd solve it, and by the afternoon, we'd be playing basketball again. The world is just not digital. You can destroy somebody's reputation digitally without them knowing. Now with AI and generative AI, you can create photographs of somebody in a light that shows them in very provocative positions and destroy a young lady's reputation that makes it look like her doing these things. That's happened at schools where kids have actually done that, said, I don't like Susie, let's do this through AI, create photographs or images or videos of her doing these things and spreading it around the school, and it will destroy children. It's
Not to go down another road, but does Senate bill that you guys are looking at, is it 1015? Does
yes,
that help?
That does. We sponsored the bill. It's carried by Senator Tony Strickland. It made it out. In fact, this was the first bill I ever got out of the Senate Public Safety Committee,
Okay.
which was a huge win for me after a decade of trying unanimously, only because Senator Scott Wiener left the dais and didn't vote, but he would have been a no vote. I think he recused himself because he knew it was going to pass. He didn't want to be publicly a no, but it holds adults and at times children accountable for targeting or using other children to exploit them. And it's getting a lot of pushback because the legislature does not want to have crimes against children. So it's a wobbler. I think they're going to water it down to a misdemeanor, but there has to be something to prevent these kids from acting at the behest of adults or other children, like nihilistic violence for competition to target and really damage others. This is no different than we saw back in the 80s and 90s when the gangs were using, they call them peewees, teens under 18, to go do the things they would make them to do, and up and coming gang members that they would recruit. They said, go deliver these drugs, go shoot that person, because the crimes against juveniles are much less than they are against adults. So the same thing's happening now with these kids acting on behalf of adults because the crimes aren't there. There's no violation for them to do the things they're doing. There's no accountability.
Got it. Okay. Pat, I know you have a question, then we'll wrap.
Yeah, I don't have a question. Actually, working for Supervisor Wagner, I have the opportunity to cover the Overland and the Park, which is the Sheriff's Department covered.
Yes.
And I want to just say thank you for the quality of the people you put in those positions. Captain I'll say it wrong.
Wigington. Yes.
Wigington. I always want to make something more difficult out of that name. And I'm going blank on the Middle Park gentlemen. But they are wonderful, caring, and very much active in their communities, and they're delightful to work with.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you for the quality of people you have put out into our communities to make them good.
Great. I'm going to end on a very positive note. Thank you, Pat. I'm blessed to have a great team. We have phenomenal people. I spoke at an event a couple of years ago, and I made the comment about the 3 T's of leadership in my world: is give them the tools to do the job, give them the training to do the job, trust them to do the job, and get out of their way. And every time they've done that, they knock my socks off. It's a very simple philosophy. So I have great people that own it. Now, here's the interesting thing. And probably since COVID, we've probably hired 600 lateral officers that want to come work for us from other agencies, a lot of them out of LA County. I asked them why. Why'd you pick us? They go, well, everybody knows you're the place to work because you're supported. Peace officers just want to go to work and do their job. They don't want to have all these political nuances about COVID and masks and all these things. So just supporting them. And we've said, no, I just want to come here and do my job, and this is the place you want to come. I'm actually 40 deputies over my budgeted amount of deputies.
Wow.
I have too many deputies right now. It's not a bad problem to have. That's because January, February, March is our retirement season. We didn't have a lot of people retiring from the county, and are hiring to backfill these positions. You want to try to do a 1 out, 1 in kind of inventory system.
Right.
As somebody leaves, you have somebody ready to take that job. Nobody left. So I'm 40 over right now. So we're slowly getting that back down to be 100%. But I'm very unique. I have sheriffs across the nation I talk to, and they're like, we can't hire people right now. We can't attract people into this profession, and we have done a really good job. The only reason people are leaving me right now is not because they don't want to work here, it's they can't afford to live here. They're going to Idaho and Tennessee and other places, and they said, we love this place, but I can buy a home there that I can't afford here, and I can't blame them for that. Everybody wants to plant roots and take care of their family. So.
Well, we reached the end of our time. Is there any final words you'd like for our community to share?
I just want to thank you for your support. I think that Orange County is still unique in the state, especially for a major urban area. I think it doesn't matter if you're blue or red. Everybody wants to be safe in their community, and we have great working relationships. I'll work with anybody that will work with me on public safety, and I think for that reason we've had a really good success. I do have something for you though. I have one of my challenge coins that I will provide. Yes, it's my personal coin. They're always passed off in a handshake, and that's for you. Thank you for doing such a great job.
Thank you so much.
And for everybody here, we do have our most recent annual report. There's stacks on the back table. Please take one so we don't have to take them back home with us. And you'll see why I'm proud. You'll find out why I'm so proud about this organization by perusing all the data that's in our annual report.
I appreciate this.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Well, before we go, I have a couple things. Sorry, we're going to clap. We'll clap in just 1 second. We have a couple things coming up. We do have our Best of Orange and board installation on July 16th. Who's coming? Okay, everyone's coming. You should come. We still have tickets, sponsorships. Talk to Patty or Jenny before you go if you'd like to get involved in that. Business networking group is going to be tomorrow. We have a happy mob on the 15th. Ribbon cutting for, Exeter Urgent Care on the 22nd. Member orientation on the 22nd. We have our monthly mixer at Fairhaven Memorial on the 29th. E-waste recycling, which is really cool, on the 25th. Get rid of everything, just purge. And then next month here in this very chair, we will have Cynthia Quimby from Southern California Edison, her second visit with us. She always is such a wealth of information. If you have a business, own a business, work at a business, you must come see her. With that, thank you again, Emilio, this morning. Orange Cafe Bistro, thank you so much. And of course, thank you to our Orange Chairman Circle sponsors, our board of directors, our staff, our community. And again, thank you, Don, for coming today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.